Hi, it's Hans at ahappierman.com. Today's topic is things to do to prepare to leave your wife. Well, I have my book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man with a 3-Step System, and it's available on the ahappierman.com website. And the backstory is my wife wasn't very good to me in a variety of ways, kind of the verbal abuse and all of that. And I get into the detail in the book. And I have a long article describing about the book. So if you're suffering with a bad wife, you might want to check that out. Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man with a 3-Step System. But kind of a tidbit out of that book today is, let's say you're kind of leaning toward the leaving. You know you have to leave for whatever reasons you've determined. What might you do beforehand to try to make your life a little bit better and to kind of make some progress on this leaving? Well, one of the first things I did was I got a UPS box at the UPS store, United Postal Service store, and this is nice because it gives you a new address that will be your transition address between your former married life and your new divorced man life. So you want to start to have a new place. You're probably not going to get you'll need a new place to live, but the first thing is to kind of get things started to be organized. And of course, this is expensive, right? Costs you maybe $100. I think it costs me about $120 a year, and it's better than a post office box, because when you get a post office box at the post office, all it is a PO and a box number. But with the UPS, it gives you a street number and an apartment number, so it looks more like an apartment, and this will simplify things with the next steps, because let's say usually you'll find when you give people like a business or a bank or a credit card, when you give them your post office, they also want to know where you live, right? Well, in the short run, you're living at your UPS store. That's where you get that's your address. That's where you're going to start to transition some of your financial dealings to this UPS store address. So that's first. And of course, you want to get this UPS store not in the strip mall where your wife does her shopping and where she knows people, and you got to do it in a town or two over, so it's unlikely that your wife will see you there, and it's unlikely that anybody you know would see you there, that would report on you to your wife, because you're transitioning from the married man who does everything his wife tells him to do to the divorced and future single man who does as little as possible what his ex-wife wants. Is a massive step in your development. You've got to start to break away from the extreme control she's putting on your life. And this isn't easy, right? Because if you need to leave her, it means she's probably extremely difficult to deal with and very, very hard on you, and kind of controls your life and kind of gets you whipped and beat and broken down and making you less than a man. And you're certainly not the man you want to be. I know I wasn't. And that first step of getting the UPS store kind of helps. So mine was in this. I worked about 2 or 3 towns over where we lived. There's a bunch of suburbs around a big city, and it really the place where my UPS store was on the way from work to home, so it really didn't take a lot of time, because it was kind of more or less on the way, and it was in a place where my wife didn't normally ever go. So, and we didn't really know anybody in that area, so I thought I was fairly safe in that area. So that's first. Then once you get that, and all you'll need is cash in your name, and usually it's a fairly simple process to get this store. You know, I made a friendship with the owner of the store, and I kind of told him that, you know, I was leaving my wife, and then or thinking about it, and he kind of understood, and he didn't ask like a lot of questions and wanting to know my, you know, my other home address and getting my wife's name and all of that. So you might have to, you know, be strong in this, because, you know, everybody who owns a business, they want to know all your addresses, so if you don't pay, they know where to come. You can get there, you can kind of see where they're coming from. I hate all that because I love my privacy, but you kind of see where they're coming from, and you might have to shop around a little bit to get this if you need to. I mean, probably the other option is if you have a very trusted family or friend where you could make this a new address, that would be even better, because then it wouldn't cost you anything. However, this isn't easy, right? Because your wife has probably pulled you away from all your friends, and she's probably pulled you away from your family. And if let's say things would improve between you and your wife at some point, you wouldn't want this cloud of suspicion about your post office box, your UPS, you're getting your mail at your brother's house or something, you know, so you would like to not avoid too many people. So I would call this would be like a total privacy. You know, nobody else knows except the owner of the store, of course. That's, let's say, one step. The next step is to go to a credit union and get a checking account in a credit union or another bank. And again, you don't want this. You probably have a separate. You probably have a joint credit card with your wife, and what you want to do is you want to establish a separate checking account, which is you, and your address of where you live for this checking account is the UPS store that you just established, right? So you've got to have some time, you know, so to start to establish yourself at this UPS store. So to get what I mean, you want a separate checking account, and then within that checking account, you want to put a bit of money in there. You're probably not going to have a ton of money. That's probably one of the reasons you want to leave your wife. She just squanders all the money you make, and you want to have a chance of some kind of a life on the far end, years down the road. But let's keep with the program here, okay? Stick with me. Get that, and I think the credit unions ask less questions than the banks. So that's why I suggest a credit union. And again, you want this credit union or bank to be not in the town where you normally bank, where your wife might go, or because once in a while you'll go into this bank to do some banking, right? You'll deposit some cash, you'll pull some cash out. Somebody will say, well, I saw you at such and such, what were you doing there? And they'll report back to your wife, and then she'll start questioning, right? So you want it to be private, a little bit of a gap. We lived at the time. We lived in this kind of a sleep suburb out of way, and then the town where I lived was a much larger city with a lot more going on. And that city was like a big suburb of a much larger city. So there's, you know, if you're in a bigger city, this works. In a bigger city environment, it works a lot better. There's more banks, there's more places to be, there's more places to hide, is basically what you're trying to do. You're trying to hide. And I know this sounds a little bit devious, and it sounds a little bit shady, and it sounds a little suspicious, and it sounds a little dishonest. And it sounds like you're cheating, but this is your life we're talking about, and you may need to do a bunch of things like this to try to save your own life, right? I had to do this to save my own life. I was on a one-way ticket to, an early death, an early grave, and a horrible ending, and I had to do all this extra stuff to try to save my own life, and I think you might need it too if you're listening to this. So I did that. I got the credit union, and then once I had that credit union and I have the UPS store already, I was able to squirrel a few dollars into the bank there. Not much, right? Not much. It was still going to my normal banking, and you want to have this bank set up because as soon as you start to get the paperwork together with the divorce, you want your paycheck to go into that account, and you'll do that with so that way you don't have this issue of the wife you're leaving taking every bit of money from the joint account every time you get paid without you having any. You have to try to watch out for yourself and have some money. Now, there's going to be very little ability for you to hide things from the court. It isn't about hiding. You're not hiding from the court. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. It's just to have it. You're basically trying to get a little bit of control of the money that you make, right? Of the money that you make. That's what you're trying to do. And it isn't easy. You're going to suffer financially. I've suffered financially for a long time. And truthfully, even though I've been divorced, left her for a long time, many years ago, I'm still building. But man, the happiness you have when you're on your own and not dealing with her, it's so good. It's so good. So anyway, and then so you got the UPS store address, you've got a checking account at a credit union, and you put a few dollars in. Obviously, you'd be having cash money hiding somewhere where only you know about it, right? Where only you know about it. The more the better. The more the better. Thousands would be good. I didn't have thousands. No, I didn't have anything of the sort. But if you had a way to accumulate some thousands, that would be to your advantage. To your advantage, certainly. I've heard of, at that credit union, you might want to get a safe deposit box. Let's say if you have like gold coins or silver coins or something like that. And you want that private. You want that private. Private. Anyway, the next step would be try to get a credit card in your name only, using that UPS store as your address. Right? I was able to get, by that time my credit was in shambles anyway, but I was able to get another credit card in my name only. We had all kinds of joint credit cards, and they were all maxed out, and it was very difficult to pay even when I was married. But I wanted one with just my name. So when I got it, I got the credit card in the mail. You'll go online, or through the mail and request something, and they'll tell you, here's $500 or $1,000, and you might not get a nice big credit card because it's just you. It's not a joint account. It's you, and that is like the basics. That is the basics. You've got a new address. You've got a new bank. You've got a credit card, and you might want to get more credit cards. The more credit cards you have, the better. The more cash you have, the better. You could experiment. You could do a totally online bank. That works good too. Well, you get a debit card for getting cash out of the ATM. let's say, if when I was doing this, it was prior to tons of computers. So now with the computer, you're going to want you're going to want a new email address, not the one that you use jointly. You're going to want the password, protect all that so she can't read your emails. You might want to get your separate phone. You might, don't leave anything around for her to get suspicious. And truthfully, she's going to get suspicious. You're a beaten down man who's been whipped and verbally abused. She's going to be suspicious of whatever you do, anything a little bit different. So you're going to want to try to do this, ramp this up. Once you make your decision, in a couple of months' time, you're going to want to try to get all of this in place, because she's going to get suspicious. So if you want to know more about this type of stuff, check out the book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man, the 3-Step System. I'm hoping that not too many of you guys need this, that you have nice marriages, you have wonderful wives who treat you well, but I know that lots of guys don't have this. So this sounds like it's something that you're going through. I would please go to check out my book, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man with the 3-Step System, available on the ahappierman.com website. All for now.